What's up, Jimmy? How's the weather over in Florida, man?
It stinks. It goes back and forth, and stinks is the key word, Michael. Stinks.
Why? So you were saying about that, like what stinks about it?
Well, there's the gradual changes of season in New York,
Right.
which allowed us to, assimilate into the next season,
I like that word,
and and
assimilate.
and you get used to it, especially after half a century. And where I live, it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So you could be during a certain time of year here be freezing, and then the next week you could be looking at 70 degrees, and then it's back down to 40, and then it's up to it's weird, and I've had a hard time getting used to it.
How do
So
you deal with the warm weather though in Florida? Like, because it gets pretty soupy and hot, right?
yeah, like I said, you wind up stinking. You sweat a lot, you know.
Well, Jimmy, I want to introduce one of our new sponsors, Mando. Can you
Ah,
see that?
yeah,
Mando.
nice.
Mando gives you a whole bunch of product, right? Body washes. Let me see if I can swing that over there, right? We've got here a whole body deodorant, which is good, right? You're at work, you're sweating, I don't know if you have a propensity to smell, dude. I'm not trying to make fun of you. You
Who,
know what I
me? Not
mean?
me. How
Some
about you?
people, not really, dude, because I tell you, well, I will tell you this. We've discussed it before. I get very sticky and very caught up in things. And I
Yeah,
mean, when you spray this body spray on you,
yeah,
boy, oh boy, it makes a huge difference. Now, again, in New York, it's still cold, so I don't necessarily need it all the time. But I could imagine those hot summer Florida months is going to be. This will be
yeah.
your first or second time dealing with that.
Actually, technically, it would be my third.
Really?
Yeah, because I hit the summer 2 years ago. Don't forget, I was here in the summer of 2023. Then there's 2024. Here comes 2025. So I've experienced 3 summers here.
Well, then I bet you wish you had some Mando with you last year.
I need like a crate of Mando because I'm a fando of Mando.
Oh, I love it. Mando's starter pack is a perfect for all you new customers. We're asking you to support Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, right? Use the
Easy for you to say.
MATP code. That's
MATT.
MATQ, which is showing on right there on the screen. Use that. Support us. Show Mando they made the right choice in choosing one of the top pro wrestling podcasts or broadcast or television show that you could possibly have. And if you use that code, right, it equals 40% off, Jimmy. 40% off. By
Nice.
my math, that's close
That's
to
pretty good.
half.
Yeah, I'll take
It's a
that.
little less than Conan's math, but
Yeah,
it's almost half. That's
yeah.
40% off when you use MATP as the code, which is on that screen. 40% off. Go to Mando. That's Shop Mando, SHOPMANDO, and get your starter kit. Jimmy, how you can convince all your friends in Florida to order some Mando?
Well, first of all, I'll have to be upfront with them and tell them that they smell funny. And then I will highly recommend Mando because, you got to think before you stink.
With that, I got nothing else to say. Mando.
I'm a fan, though.
This is WWE Hall of Famer Tito Santana, and you are watching True Crime with the Bet Girl, the Playa, Dangerous Davis, and the president on the Monty and Pharaoh YouTube network. Arriba!
Well, good evening and welcome to True Crime with the Bad Girl and the Playa. I am Benny Scala, the one and only Playa, and with me as always is my partner in True Crime. She is a New England professional wrestling Hall of Famer. She is Archie's mom, and in her spare time, she has completely dominated the insurance industry for many years. And I could only be talking about the very bad co-host of Boston Bad Girl, Brittany Brown. Brittany, how are you?
I am doing pretty well. We're getting a little bit better weather here, so that makes me happy. How are you?
Yeah, it's actually the weather here is kind of, well, I can't really complain. It's like 60-something degrees, but kind of cold and rainy. But I got a baseball game scheduled for Wednesday and a fishing outing for Thursday. So kind of hoping that the weather holds up. We will see.
Well, thank goodness it's not 26 there then.
Yes, ma'am. I don't know what I would do. I'd actually have to wear like not shorts and long sleeve shirts and sweatpants, and I'm not up for that.
There you go.
I guess if it got below 32, I might crack, but for now, I'm sticking with my t-shirts and my shorts. But folks, we're gonna open with a quick word from our sponsor. We're gonna get right into this case. We both love this case. So, folks, if you've been injured in a car accident, please reach out to our good friend Adam Burbrower at the Burbrower Law Firm. Adam and his crew do things the right way with great results. Not only is Adam a great attorney, but the dude has framed pictures of Ernie Ladd, Johnny Rods, and, of course, the Boston Bad Girl in his office. And how cool is that, right? If you see Adam at the community pool trying to nail that elusive triple Lindy, you're going to notice superstar Billy Graham on his back and Bret the Hitman Hart on his chest. The guy is not only the man of the hour, a man with the legal power too sweet to be sour, he is also the excellence of elocution. And besides being a great guy, Adam is a true crime aficionado, big fan of the show, and avid WWF historian. Who else can get you a great settlement and talk about the great career of Spaceman Frank Hickey? Do you remember him, Bad Girl, or is that before your time?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Yeah, I'm dating myself here. So check. He was about 1968. Check out Adam at burbrowerlaw.com and follow him on Facebook. And don't forget to tell him that the Bad Girl and the Playa sent you. So I got to say, the Bad Girl gets all the credit for this episode. I had completely forgotten about Sally McNeil, a.k.a. Killer Sally. So, Bad Girl, many thanks.
Yes.
That was a great call. So, if you'd be so kind as to give the usual suspects out there a summary of this very interesting case, and then we can all chat if Killer Sally got a fair sentence.
Yeah. Now, this one I found, just so you know, I was looking up another case that we did. I was looking for on Netflix, and I found this case, and I was captivated. At first, it didn't look interesting to me, but the more I watched it, the more I was hooked, similar to you last week. This was absolutely unbelievable. So yes, I will start with the facts. So McNeil was born Sally Dempsey in Allentown, Pennsylvania on September 30th, 1960, and describes her upbringing as tough, including exposures to violence so frequently that she had thought it to be commonplace in every home. Sally's father, Richard Dale Dempsey, was an alcoholic who was frequently abusive to her mother. Her mother remarried when Sally was 3 years old, and they had 2 daughters, Judy and Jill, who were Sally's half-sisters, according to the Killer Sally documentary.
Bad Girl,
Now,
what
how sad
percentage?
is that?
What I was going to say, what percentage of the people we have portrayed on in this show in 35 episodes? How many broken homes do you think there have been? 33?
35?
Maybe. I mean, none of these people had a normal upbringing.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone. And this one is, I mean, I got to tell you, I grew up and I didn't know anybody from an abusive home. So the fact that this poor girl grew up close to the time that I did, she's older than me, but pretty close. And she thought growing up in an abusive home was normal. That was normal. Like everybody did that. I don't know anybody that did that.
No, same here. I can't remember a single like neighbor, friend, relative. Nobody.
Nope.
So
that is so sad for her to think that was normal.
Yeah.
Very, very sad. And that leads up to everything in this case, in my opinion. So Sally attended Deeruff High School in Allentown, where she was on the school's swimming and diving and track and field teams. She enrolled at East Stroudsburg State College, now East Stroudsburg University of Pennsylvania, with aspirations of becoming a gym teacher. After 3.5 years in college, however, she ran out of money to find to fund her education, and she dropped out. Now, that is very sad, because I think if that didn't happen, I'm not so sure we'd be telling this story right now.
But you gotta, I mean, most schools have, and I would say almost every school, especially a school like that, that's a very renowned school for teachers. And
Yeah.
I would think that, wouldn't they have a financial aid department? And if she said, "Look, man, I'm a half a semester from graduating, can't you, or half a year rather, a semester, can't you help me out? Like, can you get me some scholarships, grants, student loans, something? You're that close." You're like, it's running a race, a marathon, 26 miles, and 100 feet from the finish line, you say, screw it.
Yeah, I know. So it kind of makes me wonder if that she may say that was the reason, because I agree with you. Now and back then, yeah, this should have absolutely been. So that's kind of hard to believe that was fully the reason why she dropped out.
I think I agree. There's more to it than that.
Yeah, I think so too. So as her brother and her uncle before her, McNeil served in the USMC at Camp Pendleton. She rose to the rank of sergeant. And, she's a little bitty thing. So to think that before she ever started, really working out and putting muscles on, that this little bitty girl is a sergeant in the United States Marines.
Right. What was she, like 5'2",
imagine being one of the guys.
Yeah. She was like 100 nothing, 5 foot nothing.
Yep. Imagine being one of the guys in her troop.
Yeah, you got to take orders from this. Wait, let me look down so I can see you.
Right? From a little tiny girl.
Yeah.
And I'm sure.
Are you? Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I actually have a friend that's about her size, very, very small, probably 100 pounds, probably 5'2", 5'3". She's a very big wig in the Massachusetts State Police.
Yeah. Wow.
And all I keep thinking is, if she ever pulled me over for speeding, I would laugh at her. So right. I can't even imagine the people that she pulls over, the people that she bosses around. It's just crazy. It really makes a difference. Size really makes a difference, the way I think people get treated.
No, I agree.
I agree. So who knows? But that's just my opinion. So Sally met her first husband, Anthony Loudon, at Paris Island while in the Marines. And they were married for 4 years and had 2 children together, Shantina, John, and a third child from another man. Sally described Anthony as abusive towards the end of her marriage.
So now, they didn't really get much into that third child, did they, in the documentary?
No.
What was that about? So, a third child from another man. Oh, by the way, I'm married, but, I had a child outside of wedlock there.
Yeah, I mean, is that the story, or did she come into the marriage with a child? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, well, I never agree with abuse in a marriage, but geez, if she came home and said she was pregnant by somebody else, I mean, time to split up, you two.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't last very long anyway.
I don't know if that was the case.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the case. That is an interesting thing.
Like Judge Judy would say, you sure can pick them.
Yeah. I was told that by a judge once. As she was being transferred to Camp Pendleton, McNeil filed for divorce from Anthony, winning custody of their 2 oldest children in the process. During their divorce, the third child was put up for adoption. Very interesting.
Right.
Very interesting. She won the U.S. Armed Services Physique Championship twice in the late 1980s.
Wow.
And I can see why, looking at that photo.
She was jacked for sure.
She was. She was. She was very pretty, very jacked. Yeah. Yep.
And I
In
believe.
19
Go ahead. Yeah, what
in
I was going to say.
1990, she was demoted from her position as a sergeant for a continuously poor behavioral record, including anger issues, violence, and lashing out at others. Her behavioral record also resulted in her being discharged from the military.
So, like, this is to me, like, when I read these things, I'm thinking, like, you know, there's little tidbits that you're getting about what she's all about, that she definitely has some temper and anger issues.
Definitely. Yeah, you don't hear that frequently, that people have such violence and anger issues after spending, however many years in the military. You actually get asked nicely or not so nicely to leave.
And I'm thinking that's before the steroids, right? Because I don't think she got on the steroids till later on.
Well, it's funny. I didn't think so either, but I wonder where she won the U.S. Armed Services Physique Championship. That was in the late 80s, and it was 1990 that she was demoted, and then
okay, well, yeah,
my
maybe,
guess
yeah,
is
there you go. So maybe that's
so. It kind of makes you wonder.
Yeah.
I don't know. So let's see. Sally started bodybuilding during her service at Camp Pendleton, where a friend introduced her to Ray McNeil, another competitive bodybuilder, in June 1987. Now, they dated for only 2 months before getting married. There's your big mistake.
Yeah.
3 days after they got married, Ray began abusing both Sally and her 2 children. Sally was allegedly choked and punched by Ray. The family settled in Oceanside, California. Now,
that's a bad sign. You would think, at least, you marry somebody like that, maybe like for 6 months they hide their bad behavior. Guy waited 3 days. But yeah,
I mean, that's the bad part of getting married too soon, because if you're dating for a year, you're going to know whether he's an abusive person, because I don't think you can hide it for a year.
Right.
2 months, he hid it. And then 3 days later, hey, she's mine. It's my piece of property. And, beat her up. Great. Wonderful. What a big mistake.
I agree with you, Brittany. You can hide the wrinkles for like what, maybe 6 months, 9 months, but in 2 months you could pretty much, David Berkowitz from Manson probably could have hooked the bride and been on their best behavior. If they gave him a rush like that, in a couple of months, yeah.
Yeah. I have a personal story I could tell, but I won't, because this case is about Sally and not me. But, something very similar happened to me. I didn't get beat up, but I found out a lot of big, huge lies, because I did something once very similar to Sally. So, yeah, if I had waited a year, it never would have happened.
I have a very vivid imagination, but I can't imagine anybody beating you up.
No, he didn't. No beating up. No.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
No beating up.
They knew better.
Well, I was bigger, also.
Right, exactly. They knew better. At least they were smart enough for that.
He's smart enough for that. That's the only smart thing.
Right.
Child Services frequently visited her for reports of abuse to her children by her neighbors, teachers, and family members. That's three big bunches of people that are seeing
Well,
the
yeah, when your own
same
family rats
stuff.
on you, that's not good.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. And what's worse is the children actually suffered from malnutrition. Oh my God. How? This happen? The apartment was unlivable, and they were both left alone for multiple days in a row while Sally would go to the gym out of town, out of the state, and out of the country,
Well, now,
allegedly.
wait a minute here, because if both her and the husband are into bodybuilding, you look at any bodybuilding. I watch a lot of bodybuilding diet videos. You look at any of their fridges, it's like a Fort Knox. It's got everything in it. So you mean to tell me like they ate all the food and they left these poor kids with nothing?
Sadly, I think that's what happened based on what
Yeah,
I watched, based on the
that's really sad. I
three-parter
mean,
that, yeah, it seems like, I mean, I believe at times there was not even any food for her left, that Ray ate so much.
well, now
So
she was a pro also, I believe, but I don't think she had a very good career. I mean, and we'll talk about Ray in a second. I mean, he had a somewhat decent career, and I asked Phil to maybe speak on this in a little bit. Phil DeCesare, the president, about his pro
right.
career. But yeah, that's sad. I mean, the fact that those poor kids, I mean, left alone, no food, dirty apartment. I'm surprised they didn't get taken.
I'm surprised too. I mean, I'm also surprised that a woman would do this. I mean, I've never known anybody that would ever do such a thing. I've known a lot of people in a lot of different industries, and I don't know anybody that would have their kids live like that and just take off and leave little kids with no food and no school. I mean, why isn't somebody coming in and taking them, especially if they've been reported before? I mean, it like you said, why weren't they taken? It doesn't make sense.
Right. I mean, how many
So,
times you got to go out there? Child CPS. It's like
well,
enough's
that's
enough.
the thing. Wouldn't you think like three times is a charm, and now they get taken?
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're my cousin
I
Vinny,
don't
you
think
can
it's
six times like
17.
him. But yeah, no, I agree.
Jeez. So when she was discharged from the military, she began a career wrestling men on video for $300 an hour, earning her the moniker Killer Sally. She was trained by video maker Bill Wick, who was the husband of Kay Baxter. She made enough money to enable Ray to leave the Marines and concentrate on his own bodybuilding career. Ray started using steroids, which Sally blamed for his violent behavior. Sally would even go to Tijuana, Mexico with her children to buy steroids for herself to use and sell at the gym. Wonderful. Ray used top end steroids from a reputable distributor. Of course he did, because only the best for Ray.
Right.
Sally would admit that she was not proud of this and considered this to be bad parenting.
Gee, you think, Sally? It's atrocious. It's horrible.
Mm.
Unreal.
Did you notice in the documentary, Benny, that when she was asked from prison, if she would talk about taking the kids to Tijuana with her, she wouldn't talk about it. It's the only
Right.
subject she wouldn't talk about.
It's amazing
So,
though that the kids are probably what, they're like 30 now, maybe, and they talk about her with great fondness. I guess maybe there was a period. I do believe there was a period where both of them kind of didn't see her in prison for a while. They didn't visit her, and I
right.
guess they reconnected after she got out, but it was rocky there for a bit.
Yeah, and I can see why. I have to give those kids credit.
We're painting a picture of this woman, and so far it's not very good.
No, so far it's not very good. I agree. So during this time of the bad parenting, Ray won the heavyweight and overall titles in both the 1991 NPC California Championships and the 1991 IFBB North American Championships, and competed in the 1993 Mr. Olympia competition, placing 15th. And I know he was very upset about that, very upset. He expected, and Sally expected him to win that. So I know that they were very upset. He also
There's only
began
one problem with that.
participating in.
There's a guy. I think there was still a guy named Lee Haney.
Yes.
Yeah, who was, I think, at that time winning his 8th Mr. Olympia in a row. But yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct, and I can see why too. So Ray also began participating in professional wrestling and did stand-up comedy, performing his material in free shows at the comedy club in La Jolla, San
I
Diego.
think it's La Jolla. I've never
La
been to
Jolla.
California. I think it's La Jolla.
La Jolla. Okay, that makes sense. Ray had been dating another woman at the time and had decided to leave Sally for her. According to Ray's friend Dwayne DJ Jeffers, Ray actually planned to spend Valentine's Day in 1995 with the other woman and not his wife Sally. Ray apparently even told DJ that he would be telling Sally about ending their relationship. DJ warned him about the shotgun in their house, saying she might shoot him, but he said Ray only laughed it off.
I want to go back for a little bit because I know Phil and J.A. Will are two huge bodybuilding fans, and 15th. I mean, to be number 15 in the Mr. Olympia is the best of the best of the best,
right?
But to be like the 15th best in the world at something is pretty damn good. I mean, you're talking about Major League Baseball, football, NBA. You're talking to each have maybe 500 to 600 players. So even to be in that is like very prestigious, even if you're, you're riding the bench. But to be the 15th, the only problem is, like only maybe the top, I would say. And, I'm sure that he could have made a decent living, even if placing at number 15. But I researched his career, and that was his only Olympia that he placed in. Now, I don't know if he competed in other Olympias, but but I don't know if they still do it, but back then they did, they called it a Grand Prix after the Olympia, mm-hmm. that they'd go like all of like France, Greece, Spain, and mm-hmm. They'd have all these contests. Now, most of the top guys would not go to these Grand Prix. They would peak for the Olympia, and that was it until the next big show. Mm-hmm. But I think he placed in a few of those. And I think one of the smaller shows, I believe it was Niagara Falls Classic. He actually was a runner-up. And I think he beat Ronnie Coleman, who became an 8-time Mr. Olympia. He placed higher than Ronnie Coleman. So, wow. Yeah, I mean, he was, I would say, as far he was a mid-carder. As far if we want to translate it to wrestling parlance, he was not a Lee Haney. He wasn't a Dorian Yates. He wasn't a Ronnie Coleman. Any of these like top-level bodybuilders. He was, kind of in the middle of the pack. And I imagine that there was probably enough endorsement money for him to make a decent living. They don't really say. Let me see with Jay. All you got to do is ask Robbie Robinson about IFBB politics. Arnold was given the 1980 Mr. Olympia. Yeah, that's a whole show in itself. That's a crime because the 1980 Mr. Olympia, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was making a movie, and I think he decided 7 weeks before the movie that what the hell? I'm going to come. I want to win him. He won from 1970 through 1975, so he won 6 years in a row. But he decided to come back in 1980, and there were several guys that were like in way better shape than him. And it's a lot of politics. I mean, he won it, and then the next year, Franco Columbu, who was his best friend, who had won it in 1976, came back and won it in 1981. And there were several guys who were like way more qualified, way better looking than him. So yeah, there is Mike Menser, who actually I don't remember, it was the 80 or the 81. I think it was the 1981 that he actually retired from bodybuilding because it was so the
politicky
placements were so that was so political. And so yeah, I don't think this guy, I don't think he drew a lot of money, meaning Ray McNeil did not draw a lot of money. Ray McNeil was not big sexy Kevin Nash. He probably wasn't even the 1 2 3 Kid or X-Pac,
Right.
He's more like Mario Mancini.
Yeah, I think a lot of Ray's problem is he thought he was better than he was. And he also wasn't, I don't think, in my opinion, based on what I've read and saw, I don't think he was in the in crowd, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm sure
a little
there's
bit of an outsider.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a clique just like the WWF had, Triple H and Shawn Michaels and those guys. Yeah, I think he was on the outside looking in, and a 15th placement in the Olympia is phenomenal. But I think that was his 15 seconds of fame, and he, like I said, he never replicated it. I looked, I think from obviously he got killed in '95, but I looked like from '87, '88 through '94, and I saw him only that one time. And like I said, I went to another site and I indexed like what shows he actually placed in. And he did okay in some shows, but they were the lesser shows without the Lee Haneys and the Ronnie Colemans.
Exactly.
So yeah,
exactly.
Very, very lackluster career.
Yeah.
Oh, J.A. Will, you are reading our minds. I'm going to get to them in a moment here. Craig Titus and Berto Fox. All right, so we got to the point where DJ was warning Ray that Sally, she had a shotgun and she meant business.
Yep, and he just laughed it off. So Ray himself was actually arrested in 1990 for brandishing a firearm at Loudon and smashing the windows of his vehicle with a metal bar. Sally had been arrested previously for assaulting a mailman, I can barely say this without laughing, who slapped her son, John, after he had a fight with the mailman's son.
I believe that she actually took her son, found out where the mailman lived, knocked on the door, dragged him outside, and beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, that's the way it looks.
So once again, Sally, not cool.
Yeah, not cool. Not cool. Sally also attacked one of Ray's lovers at a bodybuilding show, pinning her to the floor and hitting her repeatedly. This resulted in the National Physique Committee suspending her for a year. It is thought she also physically took her anger out on her husband, pulling a gun on him for the first time before being pepper sprayed by police officers. Can you imagine?
One of the usual suspects hasn't been here in a while, Loose Cannon. This lady's a damn loose cannon.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes. I'm sure the mailman felt that way too.
This is a powder keg just waiting to explode.
Yeah, on both ends, him and her.
Yeah.
In 1993, Sally was confronted by a club bouncer for dancing on the tables. Drunk and not wanting to do what he told her, Sally kicked him in the face 3 times. When police arrived, she threatened to kill them.
She's definitely a keeper.
Sally.
She was a kind girl, the kind I don't need.
Yeah. Now comes Valentine's Day 1995. Sally called 911 telling them, I just shot my husband because he just beat me up. Earlier in the night, Ray was on a date with Marianne Myers, a fellow member of Gold's Gym, instead of spending it with his wife Sally on Valentine's Day. Sally was about to go out and find out where Ray was, but he turned up just after 9:15 p.m. She claimed and maintains that she shot Ray in self-defense when he, spurred by roid rage, began choking her after she accused him of adultery. The police transcript reads that Ray slapped her, pushed her down on the floor, and started choking her. Sally squirmed away, ran into the bedroom, and took her sawed-off shotgun, because we all have one of those in the bedroom,
Oh yeah,
out of its case in the closet. Then she shot him twice, once in the abdomen and once in the jaw.
You know, I listened to that 911 call. I'm sure you heard it too. Like, she said that I just shot my husband because he just beat me up. She said it with about the same emotion that I would call Chinese takeout and say, I'd like the Kung Pao chicken. I mean, she literally said it with that flat of a tone of voice.
Yeah,
No,
actually, you act right. You actually spoke a little bit more enthusiastic saying that than she did on that call. It was, I listened to it 3 times because I'm like, wait a minute, did I hear that right? I had to listen to it 2 more times because it just was so calm. And if there was no crying and screaming in the background from the children, you would have thought she was calling to order takeout.
Right. Yeah, I was shocked by that. I mean, I'm thinking, like, am I hearing this right? Like, did she do this after the fact? But no. It was.
Yeah, I know. So her bail was set at $100,000. I'm amazed that's all it was set at. Out of loyalty, this was paid for by McNeil's wrestling clients and others from the muscle worship community.
All right. So I had no idea what the muscle worship community was or what muscle worship was. And I got an education, obviously. I didn't believe there was such a thing.
I didn't either.
I mean, you have people actually will pay you to squeeze your muscles and, well, other things too, right? I got the impression it wasn't just, I'm pumped up. I want you to, I want to squeeze your bicep. I think it was a lot more than that.
I will tell you, I met 3 different girls that were professional wrestlers that did something called apartment wrestling, which is exactly what Sally was doing.
Right. From the old, Phil said it earlier, the old Bill Apter magazines, the apartment wrestling.
Yep. But I will tell you, so this was way after Bill's old magazines. I'm going to say it was in the mid-90s that I met all 3 of these girls, and one of them was a former gladiator. She was doing apartment wrestling and making pretty good money off her name in gladiators. And then the other 2 were actually pro wrestlers. And I'm going to say it paid more. I think Sally was making less than what these 3 were making.
Okay.
In fact, I know she was. If she's saying she only made $300 an hour, she's making less than all 3 of these girls made. I know a girl that bought a house after working for a year and a half doing apartment wrestling and had no mortgage. So it pays really, really well. And this muscle worship, I don't get it.
I must have led a very sheltered life, because when I read that, I thought, I got to look that up. And I looked it up. It's like, holy shit, that's actually a thing. Yeah. But I guess it is.
And I'll tell you, I asked every one of these girls, and I said to them, if you don't want to tell me, just tell me you don't want to tell me, and that I'm out of line asking you this question. But has anybody asked you for more than what you're offering as far as apartment wrestling. And you know where I'm going with this, I said to them.
Oh, yeah.
And only one of the three said, oh, yeah, but only one time. And I just simply told them no, and there was no problem.
Wow.
I was shocked because I truly believed that what all three of these girls were doing was exactly what you thought. And one girl I'm actually very close with, and her husband had Thanksgiving dinner at my house, and she didn't lie to me. She did not lie to me. And her husband went with her and waited outside these hotels that she did this in, and went from city to city, town to town. And he waited in the car, and they had a little gimmick going where if she was in trouble, she would, rattle the blinds or the drapes. And it never happened. She said it never happened.
Wow.
Nobody ever asked for anything more. I was shocked.
And they laughed all the way to the bank, I guess.
Exactly.
Wow.
With a beautiful home. Yep.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What you learned.
Yeah, I was shocked. I really was. I was shocked. So evidence arose during Sally's trial that questioned the validity of the story she had given, including her body language during the initial police interview, the trajectory of the rounds fired into Ray, one of which must have been fired while he was on the floor, and the blood spatter, of course, on their living room lamp. In addition, no DNA of Sally's was found on Ray, which eliminated any forensic evidence to back up her story.
Right.
So, in 1996, she was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 19 years to life. She served her sentence at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla, California.
She said
Her
it was a
parole was
shithole. I
granted.
can only imagine. Yeah.
Oh my God, I know it does. And it looks like it too. Her parole was granted by the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation just not even 5 years ago, May 29th, 2020, after serving 25 years in prison. So she
Quarter of a
did
century.
not get out on the minimum. She did not get out on the minimum 19 years, which I don't know. I don't know. Following her
We're going to
release,
chat about that a little bit after we're done here, but yeah, we can debate
that. Following her release, McNeil married Norfleet Stewart, whom she met through her Veterans Transition Center support group. She currently resides in North California.
So far, so good with that one, right?
Yeah.
Although, if I heard that she'd met him in church, I'd feel a little bit better than she met him at a Veterans Transition Center support group. But, I mean, as long as they're happy. I saw him at the end of the documentary. He seems like a pretty chill guy, and they seem very happy. So here's hoping she got it right. Like you said, 3 times the charm. But, wow, Brittany, what a case. And I think J.A. will mention the one guy I'm going to mention now. In 1997, Bertle Fox, who they call Brutal Bertle, who was actually an upper echelon bodybuilder in the mid to late 80s, he was convicted of murdering his 20-year-old fiance and her 36-year-old mom. Now, Bertle was 46. Now, I am the Playa, and I do like the youngins, but when you're 10 years older than your mother-in-law, you might be going just a little bit young, I think. Anyway. So, Bertle was sentenced to hang. I think that it was in St. Kitts, but his attorneys were able to get the verdict overturned. And then in 2005, pro bodybuilder Craig Titus kidnapped and murdered his personal assistant, Melissa James, in Las Vegas, Nevada. He was convicted of second-degree murder, kidnapping, and arson, and was sentenced to 21 to 55 years in prison. His wife, Kelly, was also convicted of arson and battery, and I think she was a bodybuilder as well, with a deadly weapon, and served 11 years in prison. So, the wrestling has all these scandals. I guess the bodybuilding community, they have their fair share.
They certainly do. Yeah. And I'll tell you, that Craig Titus one is very interesting.
Yeah, I've seen a document. It's been a while. It's been a couple of years, but yeah, that was very, very interesting.
Yeah, scary, very scary.
Yeah.
What a couple.
Well, I mean, you think about like, this isn't like, Barry Bonds hits a home run and like you can measure that he hit a home run. I mean, with bodybuilding, everything is subjective. And, you could think that like Ray McNeil, you could think that you're the best, I'm going to win the Mr. Olympia, but guess what? You place 15th. And it's just, I don't know how these guys don't snap because like you're literally your entire being, your entire life. It's a very selfish lifestyle when you think about it. You get up, your entire being is focused on lifting weights and eating every 2.5 hours, getting a suntan, and making sure that your body is absolutely perfect. It's just, and
Right.
the competition, the stress has to be unbelievable.
I would say so. So. And I'll tell you, I don't think steroids help stress.
No. And even for a guy like a Lee Haney or Dorian Yates, the guys who dominated, I would think, they win, but then they got to come back next year, and they can't take any time off.
No.
The margin of victory, it's like, not figure skating, but speed skating. Sometimes the margin is like 3/100ths of a second. It's like infinitesimal. Right. It's, teeny. Same thing with bodybuilding. You have a judge looking at it. To me, like, I wouldn't know how to judge these guys. I mean, you can tell that some look a little bit better than others, but very, very subjective. But so here's the question. It all boils down to this. Do we think Sally McNeil was justly convicted of second-degree murder, or should she have been convicted of manslaughter and given a lighter term? Should she have served 25 years? What do you think?
Honestly, I know she was violent. I know she had a bad temper. I know she was on steroids, but I truly believe, due to the fact that he was on steroids and he was so much bigger than her and she was so tiny, it wasn't a fair fight. And I do not believe, if he wasn't coming at her or abusing her, that she ever would have grabbed a gun. So in my opinion, I would have expected a lighter term.
Well, I mean, obviously they were both like mercurial, could you say? Like they had short fuses. But I mean,
Yep.
You got to think with this woman's temper, and then that your man is out on Valentine's Day with another woman, and he traipses in at 9:15. Like, you're not going to want to kill him. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess what really doomed her, I think if she only shot him once, I think she probably would have got like 5 years. She would have got manslaughter. But the fact that she went back into her bedroom, they found that shell casing in her room, which means she took the time to go back in the bedroom, cock the gun, discharge that shell and load it again. I think that one act was what sealed her fate.
I agree.
I agree. So that attaches now, I don't know that, does that attach some premeditation to it? Yes, absolutely. But do I think that warranted? I mean, I would have said, if she served 12, 13 years, I would think, justice has been served.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine she'd ever do it again.
Jesus, I hope not.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing, and, the other thing I think that weighed heavily against her was her past.
I mean, the constant record of losing her temper, violence, threats, I'll kill you to the police, problems at the military. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So obviously nothing in her past helped her.
No, like we said, we were painting a picture, and the picture wasn't turning out very good. Discharged from the Army, threatening police, beating the crap out of the postman, you name it, she did it. Beating up the girlfriend, getting suspended by the NPC. The NPC, is I believe what you needed to qualify to get your pro card. So she got,
I
you know,
believe you
that's
are
your,
correct.
yeah, that's your livelihood. You don't mess with that. And I think she could not control her temper. And I think, you know, I think that's what kind of the fact that she did, you know, she went in the bedroom, discharged the weapon, and, you know, given her past. I think they just, yeah, they wanted to make an example out of her, and they sure did.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, the thing that gets me is, you know, I've had a temper before. I know a lot of people that have had tempers. I know people that have used steroids, but I just don't understand one thing is she knew before, way before Valentine's, that he was cheating. Why do you stay with someone that's cheating on you? It's
Yeah.
bad enough that he's doing it, but he's doing it in front of their friends and coworkers. His friends know he's doing it. Their coworkers, meaning the other, you know, contestants, so to
Well,
speak,
your best friend's
that
son, you
they
better watch out. This, you know, biatch is going to blow you away. I mean, he knew.
I know. So, like, what? Why did she stay? If someone puts their hands on me once, that's it. Done.
Right.
Done.
Well,
Gone.
that's why that's why you're not in jail, and she served 25. I mean, you know, why didn't she tell him, look, I know I'm going to backtrack. My understanding is that she was pretty much obsessed with him, and it was not an equal relationship, that she loved him way. I mean, he was her entire world,
Yeah.
and she was obviously just a small piece of his, and it was a very imbalanced relationship. And, you know, I mean, from what I understand, she was completely faithful to him for the entire relationship, but he definitely did not return the favor.
I agree 100%. And you know, it's bad enough that she did this to herself, but the fact that there were two, well, really three, but two children that were directly involved with this and were seeing the infidelity, seeing the abuse, seeing, I mean, the violence, the steroid using. Why would you ever do that? Like I said, bad enough you do it to yourself, bad enough you're doing it in a relationship, but to have children involved in this type of environment
And they
is
were young. I
beyond
mean, they
me.
were young. I mean, they were what, 11 and 9. I mean, they were very young kids, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Maria Davis has a great question here. Do you think she stayed because she was so very desperate and hungry for male companionship? I'm going to go first here. I don't think she was. I think she was desperate and hungry for his love that she was never
Yeah.
going to get, like, at least on an undivided basis. I mean, I wouldn't say that he didn't love her, but he had other priorities. He was not going to be, you know, he wasn't going to be faithful. He was going to, you know, he was going to do what he had to do, I guess, maybe to take care of the family, which I'm not even sure he did that good of a job with that. But, you know, he was going to play the field, and she, you know, she wanted him and him only. She wanted him to be a faithful husband, and she was not willing to let go, even when it, you know, when it was very obvious that he was going to do this. She just kept hanging on. Maybe she thought he was going to change, but he was never going to change. So I don't know if that answers Maria's question. What do you think, Brittany?
No, I agree with you, but what I feel bad about that somebody is that obsessed with someone else that
Yes.
they allowed him to not work, and you go and lower your standards and blow your confidence and self-worth away and do apartment wrestling to support the family, because he wasn't supporting the family, she
No.
was.
He was eating like 5 pounds of steak a day, and, you know,
Yeah.
lifting
Yeah.
weights. That was his whole his whole
Yeah.
job.
And that wasn't bringing in any money.
No, even that 15th
You know,
placement in Mr. Olympia, that maybe got him a few $1,000. He probably spent
yep.
50 times more than that in food and, you know, steroids.
Yeah. And she was paying for it all.
Yeah.
And it saddens me to think that somebody loves someone that much and that person isn't returning the love, just using her. He really just
You know,
used her.
no, and I my parents are long gone, and they taught me so many valuable things. And but the one that I remember more than anything, and I've tried to always apply it, is they would say, "Why would you want somebody who doesn't want you?" And you have to always keep that in your mind. Like if somebody doesn't want you, like nothing is going to make them want you. So it's best you move on. And you got to think more of yourself than attaching yourself to. You can't attach your worth to that person.
Exactly.
You just can't do it.
Exactly. And sometimes it takes way too many years to realize that. You may have been told that when you were 20, but it may not have really sunken in until you were
It doesn't sink
40.
in. It takes maybe 30 years or so to sink in. Oh, now I get it. But now I'm, now I'm 50
Yeah,
years old.
now
But
I
yeah,
get it, but I'm in prison now.
right. Yeah, I guess, when she met him, that he was the end all be all. And maybe they, I'm sure they had like aspirations of both being, world champion bodybuilders, living a life of luxury, traveling the world. It just didn't turn out that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Far
I
from
mean,
it.
the whole thing is so sad. And to see both of her children now, I mean, what they've been through. And the son, my God, that poor kid has been through alcoholism, drug abuse. He's been in and out of rehab.
Yeah. He
And
took it
then
really hard. I
after
think.
all those years of not seeing her, not writing to her, nothing, he showed up to walk her down the aisle.
Yeah, that was very touching. I like this. I like that moment.
Yeah.
And I hope to God that she sticks with this guy and they live happily ever after. And
Me too, because you know what? To go through that, I mean, forget the killing part, which is the biggest part of it, but just to go through everything up to the killing was horrible enough. But then adding that in on top of it, and your kids saw it, and there was blood all over the place. I mean, those kids had to be so screwed up. She had to be so screwed up. She got 25 years of like daily counseling. They didn't.
no, and they basically, they were orphans pretty much at the age of, I think, didn't they live with her mother?
Yeah.
I believe. But
Yeah.
her mother was probably, I don't know how old she was, but you're meant to raise kids, I believe, when you're younger. I mean, as a grandparent, you're not meant to like discipline children. You're at that point, you want to spoil them. You shouldn't have
Right.
to be their parent. So, yeah,
Right.
it took a long time. I think John, the son, I think he's finally, is somewhat normal, but it took how many years? I mean, he must be about 30 years old by now, I'm thinking. Yeah, and the girl seems pretty. I think she served in the military, and I
Yep.
believe she has a child. But yeah, what a life for the true victims here. Yeah, Ray McNeil is a victim, but to me, the true victims are those two poor kids.
I agree. And as sad as it was that the other one got put up for adoption, that was probably the luckiest of the three.
Yeah, that kid dodged the bullet. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this was
Very
a great
sad.
episode, Brittany. Thank you so much. And thanks to the usual suspects in the chat room, as well as the millions
And millions
of true crime fans all around the world. And as I say every time, we will never, ever run out of cases to talk about. So make sure you subscribe to the Monty and the Pharaoh YouTube channel so you won't miss any episodes. Please do not forget to join yours truly and Dan Sebastiano tomorrow night at 7 o'clock with Dan and Benny in the Ring. And we have a very special guest. I think you guys are going to like it. Mr. Bobby Horn, who you might remember as Mo from the great tag team Men on a Mission. So that's going to be a good one, I think. So for the bad girl, This is the one and only Playa telling everyone to stay safe and see you next crime. Good night, folks.